The Constitutional Amendment Bill 2017 will on Monday be tabled in the August Assembly for the second reading. This will commence the process of either passing or rejecting the bill in earnest, as Ugandans wait with bated breath for the outcome of this critical process. The decision lies squarely with lawmakers. Will the president, a leading exponent of the age limit amendment, get his Christmas early, or will the opposition upset the apple cart? On the spot this evening is former leader of opposition and Agago North MP, Professor Maurice Ogengala Tigo, Housing Minister, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, former Director General External Security Organization, David Pulkol, and former Tororo Municipality MP, Sanjay Tana. Gentlemen, thank you for honoring our invitation. You are on the spot, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let me begin with you, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi. Some people in this town are already beginning to talk. Like just what happened during the removal of the term limits. We're told 5 million shillings exchanged hands and members of parliament got. That this time around, the stakes are higher. That there has been 40 million shillings token, and that for those who are supposed to go for the amendment of the bill, the Constitutional Amendment Bill for removing the age limit. So one would wonder, have you gotten yours?
Well, first of all, I don't know who is giving that information. Yesterday I appeared on a TV talk show with a colleague member of parliament, and the member of parliament said he was sure we had received 800 million shillings in 3 installments, 300, 200, and then 300. I had also heard another member of parliament, an opposition member of parliament, saying the members of parliament have been given 1 billion shillings. Now you are talking of 40 million shillings. I'm sure tomorrow they will talk of 200 million shillings. So the only money that we received was 29 million shillings, which was given by the Parliamentary Commission to facilitate all members of parliament, whether you support the bill or not, to facilitate us to go to our constituencies and carry out consultations. No any other money has been given. Some of us, our position has been public on this bill. So why would anybody bribe me? Because people are saying members of parliament are being bribed. Would you need to bribe me to support a position? I have already said this is my position. Members of parliament went to their constituencies and consulted, and we are coming back now to debate the report. So, but I think those who are sure that they are going to lose in this vote in parliament are the ones who are propagating that kind of blackmail, trying to confuse the public. Why should anybody think that if I vote yes, I have been bribed? But the one who has voted no has not been.
Well,
why?
There's a precedent of the age limit, of the removing of the term limits. But let me
No.
ask this.
When you say precedent, actually the 5 million of the term limits is the same as the 29 million of this age limit, if you want to say.
No,
yes.
it is not.
Because members of parliament received the 5 million to go and consult.
No.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's when they have to go now to Professor Latigo,
So-
with the comparison of the two.
Well, first of all, Chris was not in parliament
Yeah.
that time. I was.
Okay.
With Sanjay, and he will corroborate my statement.
And
That money was picked from
Mosakot.
Mosa courts. And I know the people who gave them out. Anifa Kawaya, Woneka, that lot. General Tafiri picked his money. When he was coming to pick, he told us in the parliamentary canteen, he said, you wait, I'm going to pick that money. And you partake of it. He came, we drank until 3 a.m. in the morning. That is the truth.
So
Let me just.
Did did you receive?
How could I? Because I never go to Mosa court.
So if you had received 5 million, would you change your
I
position?
would look.
Would you?
Look,
No. Dr. Chris, what you're changing is you're saying that this is similar to what you got, the 29 million shillings. He's telling you it is not.
No,
and he's
it is
giving
not.
you where it was given from.
Becoming the moderator.
So,
Okay, that's it. What I'm asking him. If
no,
you
he was trying to set the record straight and give you information for not saying
Okay,
these things are similar.
okay,
And
true.
so we need to move away from that because it is now clear. This is different. The other one, you set a precedent, and so Ugandans are looking at a precedent that was set. It can easily be repeated.
And secondly, I can tell you this. We were in
Has it taken
Parliament
over my
today.
time?
We were in Parliament today. I have very close colleagues. And they admitted they received the money. I have one person who supports the bill, who said she went and her name was not on the list. Now, if there are people whose names are on the list and there are people who are not on the list, then where is the doubt that money was not being given?
Okay, still with Chris very briefly, if
Yes.
I just want to know, members of parliament, for those who are supporting the amendment, are they coming to the House on Monday with already agreed position, or are they coming to listen a debate in that plenary, and then the power of the argument and persuasion in the House can determine how they are going to vote?
First of all, from the perspective of NRM, that several organs of the party sat and took a position. And we have also gone to our constituencies to do consultations, and by now, each member of parliament should have formed an opinion.
What is the purpose of a plenary debate in the House? Isn't it also supposed, perhaps even to enrich your own idea, even to add value to your position, or maybe somebody can come with a better argument and a better persuasion you could even change on the floor of the House?
Well, if there is any member who would be persuaded by the debates and the changes, that is right. But
Okay.
as I debate, I will be saying my position to my other colleagues. So Parliament, the way it works, all of us shall debate. If you are swayed,
if that is
if
the
you are
case,
swayed,
then
yes.
why are we hearing that for those who will go against the NRM position can actually be face the disciplinary committee of the party?
Where have you heard that one from?
The president talked about that in the Bushenyi.
Yes, I think he was saying that the way political parties work, if you defy position to the party, that can attract disciplinary sanctions.
That's
But
why,
we haven't reached-
that's why I'm
we
asking,
have-
what is the purpose of the plenary, where members of parliament debate together and the better argument can win a day there? Not necessarily to come with a ready position, because you're going to debate, you're going to enrich each other's arguments.
Patrick, allow me to come in. I think that that's an assumption. But like Chris has said, and my senior here has said, this is something that has been on the floor for some time. There are many people who have made up their minds on this matter. There are many people who have a position on this matter. So you will have about 4 different types of mindsets in that house on Monday. One is that mindset, somebody who already knows that this is good for the country and this is what is supposed to be done. The second position is the one that believes that this is not good and this should be opposed at all costs. Then you have the third one who is willing to listen and take a decision based on the arguments. Yeah. Then there is the fourth one that may be there to see who persuades him better using the incentives that you've been talking about.
Thank you very much. And what I'm asking that those who are willing to listen and take a position, what if they are the majority in that house on Monday?
We can't assume, Patrick, on that particular point. We can't assume because we don't know the mindset or what is running in doctor's mind or what is running in prof's mind.
What
Okay,
will eventually matter is the final vote when it is called, how a member will cast
And
his
we
or her
hope
vote.
that the speaker conducts an open vote so that we know how our representatives voted on this matter.
Yes, that's how the
We want a roll call done like it was done. Somebody says aye or abstains or votes for
David Pulko.
against.
David,
So for the assurance of the viewers,
issue,
yes,
that's how the voting
okay, gentlemen,
will be.
one at a time.
Yes.
David Pulko, if the issue of the money, in fact, the Honorable Professor Gangala Tigwa said some people have even intimated to him that they have received money. If that is the case, wouldn't that be really like rented support, as opposed to have ideological conviction to follow a party position?
I think we need to double click this folder called Money and Parliament in the latter days of this administration, the role money plays and people's representatives and the politics of retail trade that NRM is practicing these days, buying and selling people, name your price. This attitude that leaders have a price, leaders are on the shelf, you can actually pick them and dispose them, just like Konyi uses disposable fighters. You abduct here, run around a bit. When the UPDF catches up, let us go and get another group, run around with them, disposable. So when you see disposable leaders, and therefore deal making becomes the issue, because, well, while I'm with you, what do I make? And that's why the concept of leadership in the mindset of President Museveni today is no longer service. These are no longer public servants. It's not a service. According to him, elected representatives are not servants. So leadership in today's NRM is not a service. So if you are brought to serve people as their representative, now tomorrow you become their boss. Tomorrow you don't want to be called a servant of the people. And even then, want a vibrant parliament, an independent parliament, and a people-centered parliament. Now, that is their own strategic plan. People-centered. Now, when it comes to making critical decisions like this, where are the people? It's money. And therefore, the discussions that have gone even in the caucus, yes, we are going to give you this thing, Muse, you've seen from the public. You've seen even how NRM has had to run away from consulting in public to consulting behind closed doors. Now, a ruling party hiding
from the people.
And from the public and running to consult people, bring to your home and so forth, you pay. You see, like Professor so-and-so said in Shema, that, you see, we are just, what can we do? There is no alternative. A professor in parliament, a minister of government, that no alternative, that even he, the professor, can offer himself. But anyway, what am I saying? Now, the opposition is the one which is consulting in public, and they are being stopped from consulting publicly. They are being told to withdraw into small into corners, into small rooms,
they become
into
local
people's
leaders.
houses. So it spells that there is a problem. And now, when you then hide in your consultations, and then come what the views you bring to the center, and then you tell the president, you see, unless you give us money, because we shall give you this thing, but what will happen to us will not be brought back. You put this amount. That's what the discussion has been. Secondly, if not, then increase our term so that we can make that money.
Okay.
Now it has become deal making.
All right, let me go to...
When leaders leave people, and it is about, service, leadership should be service above self. But now, self has been exalted in this kind of... So when I say that it is now quid pro quo, what are you giving us? What are we giving you? Then, honestly, what has this leadership
Honorable
come?
Sanjay, there are quite a number of NRM members of parliament who have consulted. There are those whose constituencies are saying, yes, amend the constitution, but there are those who are saying, do not amend the constitution. Are we likely to see, for those NRM MPs whose constituencies say, don't touch the constitution, go against the will of their people?
You see,
To trade.
Parliament, a parliamentarian there is a difference between a delegate and a representative. The parliamentarians are not delegates. They are representatives.
Is it a service or it is
So, a parliamentarian on his own also has the right and should have the ability to disseminate, to decipher the information that he has been able to gather. But, for example, you have said they have consulted, but did they consult in the manner that my elder David has talked about, or in the manner that you have talked about?
like for
the views that they have been able to gather, were they of these few people you collected in the cocoon because you wanted to share the 29 million, or was it a genuine consultation?
Another is not
As a leader, your role as a leader, Were you able to communicate to your people that this amendment is going to be good for the country? Did you share your own opinion as a leader? Did you educate the masses that America got its independence in 1774 and it took them 150 years
Which you also need now.
before they could even put the term limits? Did they discuss that? Did they discuss that it took America 70 years after independence to give women rights to vote? Because Ugandans love mimicking America. So, as these leaders that went to consult, in my opinion, left a lot to be desired. I am talking on both sides because I've been in the House, and this time I was a recipient, but they never came to consult and explain the pros and cons of this amendment as we would have expected.
So you can
So,
go and
Patrick-
consult Honorable Sanjay, but well knowing that the views of the people do not matter.
No.
Then
So allow
not consult.
allow me to complete. You asked the question, the initial
He
question.
didn't go. I saw in the press.
So to me, for example, David is right, but I don't want to go on a personal issue.
You were demanding.
Yes.
This was a public.
Yes. So
These are public servants.
to me, you have asked. It is okay. I can go and pick views from my people, but then I must also be able, on my own behalf, to take a decision.
So even though it is overwhelmingly clear that your people, let's say Tororo municipality, are saying this is where we want to go, Sanjay Tana will go a different way.
If I think it's
And
right,
leave the people of Tororo.
if I think it is right,
And
I will take time to go and explain to my people my position and why I think that is the right decision. I'll give you an example. When we got money to build markets, these urban markets, my people in the market refused to vacate the market. And they said, we are happy with this old shanty thing that we have. We had to explain. It took us 3 years to get consent. Today the market has been raised and there is a brand new market coming up.
thank you very much. You said you got consent.
Yes.
But we have seen people, members of parliament, who have not gotten what they want. For
That's
example,
why I'm
the
telling
people are
you,
stuck
each
on one
member
position.
of parliament has different set of skills, different set of abilities.
Whatever ability, Honorable Sanjay, you waited until you got consent. Professor Morris.
Patrick, you see the tragedy of what we are participating in now is that we are discussing the constitution like a policy option. The constitution is not a policy option. It took years to consult Ugandans, lots of money, chaired by former Chief Justice Benjamin Udoki. They went to every part of Uganda, sought opinion on key issues. Then the Constituent Assembly was set up. It took 3 years. Fundamentally, we as Ugandans should not be treating our constitution the way we are treating. First, a government in power doesn't even have the guts to come with an amendment to say we want this amended. They put a party member who then crafts an amendment including a directive from the Supreme Court for the Attorney General to act. And we're here debating it. And we think our country is fine. The country is not fine. Chris says he has a position. Fine. It's not about a position. It's about the Constitution. What does it say?
Tell us, what does it say?
Tell you and who. You know it better. And I can tell you, you see, I sit here very comfortable because I've seen people who have done the same thing you are doing. And they ran out of this country. Those who were lucky, others died. So, if you want it, you will have it. I can tell you. Because this is more serious than people think. It is not about President Museveni. You think the goodwill you have lost, you will regain with what? And we must stop it, really. And for us, Parliament will debate on Monday. And I know they will switch off the TV so that people will not watch.
Maybe.
No, they will.
How?
They did it the other day, yesterday, but yesterday they switched off.
Katabazi, I don't know what.
They will switch off.
You see.
But they're just fooling themselves. That's what I have to tell them.
Now,
But let me come back to Dr. Chris Baryomonsi. Really, you've seen the consultation process. Whereas you have been in opposition, maybe Professor Gengla Tigo, Dr. Kiza Besigye and others, you see a brand of opposition that's different. The common man in Kanungu, in Russia, in Nagongera, in Tororo municipality, is telling you, please, no. Aren't you reading now the politics differently? Isn't that,
you see,
like a writing on the wall that you should be able to read and you seem not to be reading it?
you see, the assumption you make that it is only the opposition members who are interacting with the common man, and for us who are in NRM, we don't reach to the common man, is a fallacy. Professor Atigo and myself, we are members of parliament. You should not assume that you are able to reach out to the people, and for me, I don't reach them. All of us,
I never talked about
all
reaching
of
out.
us
I never
went
talked
to
about
our
reaching out.
constituencies.
That has not been said.
yes,
What I said,
I
that we
never
have
said
seen
it.
some people,
I never
Okay.
said
they
it.
have been reached and they have said no.
Let
I've
me
never
say
said
that
and
all
there are
of
places
and-
like
and that-
Tororo municipality where people are still demanding for their MP to come and consult them.
okay, the member of parliament will account for his time and
Taking 29 million. Cool.
but all of us did consultations. The style of consultation differs. What is important is for the member of parliament to pick the opinion of his or her people. Let me respond to what Professor was raising. First of all, true, the Constituent Assembly sat for 3 years to put in place this constitution. But at the same time, the Assembly provided a chapter within the Constitution that this Constitution can be amended. And the way it can be amended is provided for. So there is nothing illegal, there is nothing unlawful which is being done by Parliament. The same Constitution also provided that, yes, government can bring a bill for amendment, but also an individual member of Parliament can also bring a bill. So Professor Latigo is at liberty to bring a constitutional amendment bill the way Honorable Majezi brought a bill and can be processed through the parliamentary, the way we are doing it. So there is nothing wrong, there is nothing unlawful. Do not threaten anybody that you have seen people run away, you have seen people die, even us, we have seen them.
Yes.
So don't think that...
It's not a threat. It's just
No,
stating a fact.
whom are you threatening? You threaten yourself.
What is a threat?
Yes.
That is not a threat. That
No,
is a fact.
no.
That is a
Ugandans-
fact. Obote tampered with the constitution and offset the legitimacy that he got at independence. Eventually he ran.
This is
That's
not
a
Obote.
fact.
This is not Obote.
Oh,
We are
is he
discussing
God?
today.
Is he God?
Completely.
Do not threaten anybody.
Nobody is
Parliament. Parliament has powers to amend the constitution, particularly these provisions which are in the bill. They are not entrenched. They can be amended by Parliament, provided at voting you can get 2/3 majority of the members who are voting. So there is nothing illegal, nothing unlawful, and we have consulted. So do not think that you know the position of the people in Kanungu better than myself who represent them in Parliament.
I've never said the
I
position
have
of any
seen-
place. Never.
I have seen
Even my own place, I've not talked about the position of my people here.
because the way decisions are made in Parliament, the way issues are resolved is that proposals come in Parliament and we debate, and finally we take a decision through a vote. So whoever has the majority will carry the day.
Okay,
and there is nothing
all right.
wrong, nothing
You made your
unlawful,
point,
as
Dr.
Professor is
Dr.
trying
Craig.
to put it.
And
we are ready for
David,
this
David,
vote.
There are
In
three
this-
things. There are
yes.
three things which come to tie this up completely. One, is it possible for a people in a democracy, in this case Uganda, to work with in a representative democracy, meaning you work through your representatives, while at the same time being vigilant, okay, being active in that democracy, participating in that democracy, and therefore influencing decisions of your representatives, of your government, through either civic associations or through their representatives or through directly. So the constitution answer is yes, because all these are provided for in the constitution. That once you have elected your MPs, you don't leave it only to them.
No.
Okay? But again, there are those articles in the constitution which empower citizens that, yes, we have delegated part of our powers to the executive. The executive appoint the judiciary and so forth. And then some of that power we have delegated to our representatives. But part of that power, we can influence those decisions through our civic associations, civil society arrangement, trade unions, what, name it, that space. And then at elections, we exercise directly. So not all the power of the people have been given to these representatives. And this point must be understood.
Not only that, let
There
me
is
just
that power which
let
has
me
been
just because
arranged in the
when
Constitution.
Sanjay said the difference between
Delegate.
delegate and representative,
Yes.
you know, if you represent, you cannot be different and you represent. It is not possible.
You're a mirror.
No,
Sim-
but
Excuse
No, no,
me.
no, no, no,
Wait,
no.
wait.
No, no,
Let me.
yes.
No,
Okay, okay.
wait. I'm just arguing the English.
Yes.
That I learned.
Yes.
But let us go to our constitution. Article 1 says power belongs to the people.
True.
Wait. Let me complete it. And it will be exercised through the elected representatives. In other words, once the people say this, you, an elected representative, must reflect
no, that's
that.
wrong interpretation.
No, no, no.
You are a member of
What is the
Let me
role
ask
of
him.
a member of parliament?
Let me ask him.
No, okay, Sanjay.
Okay,
because-
And what's the role of consensus?
one at a
yes,
time.
yes,
Honorable
yes,
Sanjay.
yes.
The role of consensus.
I want to first of all pick it up from what Professor said, that he has been here long enough and he has seen people running away.
True or false?
Which my elder, my brother here, Chris, took offense to.
No, he says it's true.
No,
We have all
but
seen.
he took it as a threat.
Oh, sorry.
I don't think Professor meant it as a threat. I want to take it up from where what Professor said. I am somebody who has lived in this country. I was actually passing the bridge at the Nile when one of the former ministers in Obote's government was arrested in a citron at the bridge. Chris, who was just released recently.
Name Chris like the
So I have seen it all. I have lived in this country without piped water, without power, without medicine, without food, without tea, without you name it.
And also with the tear gas.
No.
And also
Now
we are in this
we
country.
must take that into consideration when we are taking this decision. Are we ready for the transition? Are we, as a country, at this level where we see, are we ready for instability?
So you are
Just
doing
a minute,
this-
just a minute, Patrick. In my own opinion, for example, now you tell the sitting president that your term is over, like Prof and David are saying, go. We saw what happened.
It's not us. The Constitution.
No.
says so.
No.
For you,
It's
it
the
will solve
Constitution
it.
who says
This
so.
amendment is meant to ensure that the President Museveni continues.
No. Just
This is what you are saying, that
just
you are not
hold
ready
on.
for the transition.
I am saying,
Is that what you're saying in the
I'm saying that before we take a decision, and that is now answering Prof's issue regarding delegate and representative. A representative represents. A delegate reports. A representative has the variance. For example, we took a decision that UPDF can go to Somalia. We didn't go to consult our voters.
No,
We sat on the house in the house and took. We decided.
Commanders.
We are back on air. We're back on air, gentlemen. And so, okay, you can have your moderated kind of views and avoid those radical ones if you want.
Yeah. Let's be moderate.
Otherwise, there has been a report, I think it was done by Great Lakes Institute for Strategic Studies and other, I think, SEDU, that went around doing an opinion poll. In fact, in your own constituency of Honorable Dr. Chris Baryomonsi, they say 82% of your people are not for the constitution amendment.
82%
Yeah.
of people in Kanungu. That's laughable. First of all, this study was done by people who had expressed publicly where they fall in this debate. They were for no amending the constitution. And in research, it is improper for you to take a position before you go out to find out. Secondly, this was just too simplistic a study, which was methodologically very weak, and I can speak without fear of contradiction that it is just a fake study. those results do not represent what Ugandans are saying. I am a member of parliament. I have traversed the country. I was in Kanungu. I know what people in Kanungu feel. You cannot say that 85% of Ugandans, and I want to challenge those who are opposed. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we shall handle this amendment. If 85% of Ugandans are against, let them rise up and say we disagree with the parliament once we pass it. So this was just a study done, calculated to intimidate members of parliament by biased civil society organizations.
You're now inciting violence, aren't you?
No.
Let them rise up. You know what you're saying? They could actually rise up.
If they were against what parliament is doing, and I can assure you, Ugandans...
If they're against what parliament is doing, they could rise up. That's what you're saying.
I'm telling you that what I'm saying, that from our assessment, majority of Ugandans support the amendment of the constitution.
Don't wish for that, because it could actually happen and then all of us regret.
No, you will not get them. The other day, my friend Nobert Mao tried to organize an uprising here. How many people followed him?
What did the police do?
How many people followed him?
No, what did the police do?
How many people followed him?
Even announcing to say
it did not try. I don't want you to make a statement on Nobert Mao in my presence, which is false. He did not try to organize an uprising. Mao has never done that.
Okay.
To demonstrate is a legitimate, legally allowed thing. It has nothing to do with organizing uprising. Please.
The point I am making.
Please, if you want Nobert Mao for any other reason, don't make that accusation.
The point I am making is that the assessments we have done, the consultations we have done, first of all, we have enough numbers in parliament, and these members of parliament are backed by the support of Ugandans.
Okay, David, he's saying that they have enough numbers.
And this question, and if I can respond to his accusation, this question of saying we are negotiating for deals, for money and so forth, maybe he knows. As a member of parliament,
I even know what the treasury told you they cannot afford.
Maybe you are the treasury.
David, sometimes you get insider information. Do they have the numbers?
Listen, what you've just heard from my brother Chris is the current attitude of the leadership of NRM, that we have the numbers.
Yes, we have.
That, which is that if you think we have done wrong, you rise up also. The way we rose up during, when Obote did this. Okay? Now, it's like at that time, if you care to know what Obote and the UPC did, was even in the floor of parliament, mocking Semogerere. As DP,
show me your commanders.
Show me your commanders. That thing, my brother, that you rise up, that it's like, how far can you go? What can you do? You are only tiny this. That type of attitude. And then you ignore, and you have seen how this matter has united Ugandans across, whether you are south of the equator or north of the equator. It doesn't matter whether you are from which corner. This matter has united Ugandans. You're no longer just talking about these northerners, IDPs, or these easterners. So it's tying the whole country together. And therefore, you need our leadership.
Uniting in the favor of what?
Of the constitution remaining the way it is.
Remaining the way it is.
No.
And now,
what is the evidence? What is the evidence?
Listen, Chief. You're being given statistics. You don't want to believe. No. You want to believe on yourselves, and therefore you go ahead with your own beliefs.
Statistics but the question, study.
It doesn't matter, Chief. A research. You attack the methodology. How big was the size of the population? The sampling frame. What was it stratified sampling, or was it what type of sampling? Now, if you then don't know the methodology, and you are now here criticizing it instead of attacking the methodology, so on what grounds are you attacking the statistics?
Can you give me time to comment on the methodology?
The point, you had your point.
Otherwise, we will not
let me make my point. I want to make my point in the following manner. One is that President Museveni and his courts I've discovered that once you can make happy about 800,000 people in this country, or 1 million people in this country, i.e. the 400 and something in parliament, then the DPCs, then the DSOs, then the what, then they are contractors, then they are suppliers, then they are what. Once you can make those happy, okay, and keep money around them, you can actually do anything here and even rule. But that's exactly what Mobutu system did. That's what Bokassa did. That's what many other people who are fallen did. Even Mugabe himself, Chief. This is what they did. And now, of course, the population then is After all, what can you do? Now, here you are powerful and very comfortable here. They are here.
So did you leave?
And then there are those who are powerless but very comfortable. So
Can I ask
in
him?
Uganda today, there is an alliance of the comfortables.
David.
That what do you do? If you cannot defeat them, you join them.
Let's have one at a
Now,
time.
I'm now trying to tell you that because of that system that has been created, and for me, I'm talking because I've been in the corridors of power. As a member of parliament, as a member of cabinet, as a member of national security, I've worked with the UN, I've come back to national security, I'm in CSO, I have seen in that invited space what constraints. Those who bring you there want you to turn the wheel the same direction it has been turning. And there are kind of devices they use to do that. And now it's about comfort. Comfort. So if you look at the deals that are being made, Chief, okay, you'll see this coming. This week is not far. You will see all kinds of proposals flying there, including that of 7 term.
7 years.
7 years, okay? And therefore...
Even extending this particular term.
This is the point. So this idea of members of parliament making a law and benefiting from it goes against
But that
all
is
principles
illegal.
of justice. Because if they make a law to make a constituency of this man a new constituency, it should apply for not this election. It should be the other election. But now, in any company, you declare your interest and walk out. President Museveni should have declared his interest and move out.
Okay.
But now, for him to sit in the chair and gag
Move
this,
to where?
I hear you, Chief. It's a principle of natural justice. You cannot be a judge in your own case that you adjudicate about your own interest.
judgment
So
doesn't
the
mean.
point I'm saying here is that when
Okay.
leaders put their personal interests at the center and then sacrifice the interests of the larger country, then we have a reason to be worried.
Honorable Sanjay Tana, you know, when you look at Uganda today, you have a jobless generation, you have a country that is not producing, you have a huge national debt, you have so many things that are not working well. Was it the best thing in your wisdom as the part of NRM to think about, you know, removing of the age limit? Yet there's so much you can do that Ugandans are looking at now. We are just a
Patrick, I'm not part of the NRM, just to correct you. I stood as an independent on all my terms in parliament, and but I am now speaking as an independent person. And to pick up from where, to reply to your question, but to pick up from where my brother David raised some pertinent issues. I want to disagree with Chris. I want to agree with David and Prof. But when you look at our history, David has talked of instability becoming a possibility. As leaders, is it right for us to sit here and predict doom? We have suffered in this country. We wish this country the best. As leaders, we should be able to guide towards the betterment. David has been part of this system, like he has told us.
Building scenarios.
Okay? He has been part of this system.
Strategizing.
And I want David to tell us here today, he worked at the core of the intelligence systems of this country. Does he believe that this statistics is correct? Or the statistics that is gathered from the parishes in Uganda to provide the NRM with the information that Chris is relying on?
When I see
The two scenarios, he knows that one of the reasons of why this government has been successful and entrenched itself in this country is because of its intelligence
You
system.
represented Tororo municipality at one point.
Yes, Patrick.
What is their point now? What is their stand?
I have not consulted and I have been out of politics.
So let's
for the last.
such statistics should be able to tell you.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
so-
I want to answer your question or David's question that that sample size is only 1,800 people, as per what was published in the Monitor newspaper.
50,000.
No, that particular in Kanungu was 1,800 per district.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay? And in certain districts, it was as small as 800. The maximum people sampled per district was 1,800. The minimum was 800. And like he said, the national sample space was 50,000 over 40 million people. In my own opinion, that's a very small figure.
But look at the representativeness.
So for me, in my own opinion, Patrick, I want us to look at the larger picture as leaders. one thing I loved about Prof when he was leader of opposition, unlike some of his colleagues who were radical or are radical, Prof always led to solutions. One thing I've loved with David will state his position, but will not compromise national security for personal gain. So, we as leaders here today, and those that are our representatives in the House on Monday.
If you believe that that is his stand, he's trying to look at what is happening and he's telling you guys you're compromising.
But he's not the
national
alpha and
security.
omega.
No.
He is. I have taken his view, but I also have my views, Patrick.
Sure.
I have lived in this country. I live in this country. I interact with the poorest of the poor, and I interact with the richest of the rich. I spend 12 hours of a day interacting with people. So I have also developed an opinion of the same people. And these people, the so-called rural people that you are referring to, are saying, Tetwagala okuddayo mu ntalo. They want peace. And that is what I am reiterating here today. You have seen that if at all you remove one or two people from with this leadership today, the recipe is right to go to Somalia. The recipe is right, like he has said, to go the Congo route. Is that where we want to go? To go the Burundi route. Is that where we want to go? South Sudan, is that the route you want to go? This is a professor on the issues of South Sudan. Now, and he referred to Mugabe. Mugabe's story was different.
Is he representing your views on this one very well?
No, because what he needs to know is that I want Ugandans even to save the president from himself. The way Mugabe had to be saved from himself and from his own wife who had taken over. And therefore, the G40 who had ganged around him, the criminals, the military had to sort out, who were happy, group. And they are here also, around the president. Now, the president is not seeing anything wrong.
So your problem is the president?
No. I want us to help the president. Because for him, he's addicted to power. He's an addict.
We are not discussing
the
president.
And that's the point I'm saying. And that's why he can tell you, somebody who's an addict, who's addicted, who's used to, who doesn't see anything wrong, can give the kind of arguments he gave last week. That you are not servants. For you, you are different as elected leaders. Hey.
Where did he say that?
I know.
Okay.
Where did he say that?
Professor Maurice Ogengala Tigo, let me come to you. Okay, let me have to go to Professor Ogengala Tigo, David, if you can conclude your point.
Now, let me conclude this point and say, let those who are having everything working right for them lift their heads up a bit and see. Because if you are making peaceful change difficult to be achieved, the way the Obotes made it very difficult for peaceful change, so naturally Amin had to come out. The way Amin also got used to it, and then he had to be removed by welding. And then again, these ones who have come, promising that they are going to put a system which will lift them, and they don't want also to leave. The same thing, I told you. Now, it means the country is being denied a chance to make a peaceful change, a peaceful handover of power from one president to another. Now, when you do that, you are actually making violent change possible. And that's my worry as a security, from a security angle. That you may think everything is okay for you, but you don't know how many are hurting and what they can do. He's asking them to rise up and riot. Okay? Obote told him, it's a Mogherere, where your commanders, meaning why don't you also overthrow the government if you want? You see, and this was about to say that. But must we really go that route? Is there no another? Now, for you, you say that Museveni should be kept in order to keep the peace. Boy, have you talked to God? That he's going to live here to
actually
over how many years to keep that peace?
Okay, Professor Ogengala Tigo.
That is even a threat. That Uganda cannot exist without President Museveni.
Museveni keeping Uganda.
That is a terrible falsehood.
And somebody today,
Because
if I can just summarize and finish. Let me finish this point. Somebody today circulated in the social media that if a kid was supposed to finish 10 years in school and he has spent 35 years doing a course he should have done in 10 years, which the Constitution says, and he has failed to finish in 35 years, must you amend the curriculum? Like, must you amend the Constitution? Because this stupid people has failed to do a job within 10 years prescribed by the Constitution. And he still thinks that he has to be the one to finish it. People build a foundation. Others come to build the walls. Others come and put a roof. That's how countries are built, Chief. We're going to 2040. Is Museveni going to take us to 2040?
Professor Gengla Chigo.
Yes.
You elect him. Already
Yes.
the road
Yes.
is giving us.
Yes,
don't-
you see-
don't
you-
look
you
like
see-
taking us to 2040.
One at a time, gentlemen.
I was saying that
One at a time, gentlemen.
when anybody says that we need President Museveni for peace to be in Uganda, that is a false threat. Absolutely.
Can I substantiate?
No, let
Just
me
a
just
moment.
finish. It's a false. Because if President Museveni today said, I am retiring, you'd be shocked that the Vice President Sekandi will take over and there'll be no chaos. The strength that you see is the nature of states. The institutional strength defines stability more than the individual. But the individual builds, defines the direction of the state, and helps to set,
The institutions.
yes, the foundation upon which others will build. And that is how I see it. When I was leader of opposition after elections, you know, I immediately ceded day-to-day responsibility to my chief whip. And when I made my last statement in the House, I said, I gave them space to prepare them to take over from me. That's what you naturally do. When you take your kids to school, you know that you are going to be an old man at some stage, but your home must not fall apart simply because you have become old. Because the process of aging is natural. And therefore, when some of us speak, Chris knows, President Museveni is a good friend of mine. When I speak like this, I'm not against him. In fact, like David said, I agree for him that people who think without him they will lose power, clinging on to him, forcing him to make wrong decisions, simply because they know if President Museveni goes, even within the NRM, the next president cannot guarantee Chris a ministerial position. And guys enjoy seeing police
So you
with
seem
them.
to suggest that he has been
Oh, yeah.
hijacked by the
Most-
police singers.
most-
needs to be-
most of those-
Patrick, allow me to substantiate that statement. I think both David and the good old prof have misunderstood me. David is a master and understands the security systems in this country. Prof, to a certain extent, understands the history of this country better than any of us in this room today. I want to tell you one thing. My understanding is that these people came to power through a rebellion. And that rebellion was not fought alone by President Museveni. They were his partners. Those partners today have the audacity to go around and burn people's tractors. Today, they have audacity to go and ask a judge, where were you when those same partners have audacity to ask youth who want to take over office that we took over Kampala, where were you? That's our generation.
And those policies
And
have
these
been
are
bringing
part
friends.
of, he's part of that group of people who think like that.
So now,
no,
can
Patrick,
we
let
go
me
there?
finish. Let me
If
finish.
he has not
Let me
built
finish.
robust institutions
Let me
that can
finish.
check errant
I
officers
am
like
coming.
those, is he going to build them?
I am
when?
coming to
When is he going to do that?
coming to my. If you look at the
Have those
transition,
officers been checked?
no.
When he's referring to?
If you look at what has happened within the army, there has been a transition. If you look at the police, there has been a transition. If you look at the civil service, there has been a transition. If you look at the judiciary, there has been a transition. The biggest problem of this government today, in my own opinion, and which I would want these colleagues of ours in parliament to help us with, is the issue of corruption. But for us to sit in this room and say that the road network in this country has not been improved, the production and distribution of power has not been improved.
You are trying to bring an
The
example that
production of
nobody
water-
talked about.
No, there has been improvement. So for us to sit here and discredit
But who said
that
it?
a
Who said
a
it?
student that was
Who
supposed to
said
do
it?
something
Who said it?
failed to do,
Who
that
said
is
it?
wrong.
Who said it?
No.
When
It
you
was-
are restoring a road to its 1960
Okay.
capacity,
No.
when the population has
so
increased,
Patrick,
cars have
to
increased.
me, I want us
What-
to say
what are you doing?
that there has been movement.
same width?
It may not be to the extent that him and me would have desired.
we know what
Okay?
motorways are.
So
Have you
in
seen
my
a
own
motorway
opinion,
here?
Okay,
we have
Honorable
moved
Sanjay,
the distance.
Have you
you
seen a
have made your
motorway
point,
here?
sir.
Yes.
Let me bring in Dr. Chris Weriomosi.
Have you seen
You
highways
see,
here?
first of all, I see
David, one at a time.
my friends here,
okay.
their fear is of President Yoweri Museveni.
No.
So they seem to be suffering from Museveni phobia.
Which other
Yes.
guys? I even declared to you, and you never
Can you keep
refuted my
quiet?
declaration.
Can
That
you
is a
make
friend.
mistakes?
Which declare? Which
You
declare?
just
I said-
that Museveni
I
is
said
friend.
he's my friend.
Is friend.
No, but that is true.
Yeah, but
It is true.
It is true. We know that.
he's a friend
Yes.
whom you fear.
Oh my
Because all of
God.
you are saying Museveni has overstayed. First
I
of
will
all,
not sit here and say the things I'm
From-
saying if I feared President
Can
Museveni.
you give me my space? From 1962 to 1986, when President Museveni came into power, those were 24 years. We had over 8 presidents in Uganda. And I don't think the multitude of the presidents we had explains transformation, appreciable transformation that could have happened.
They did the things Museveni is doing
Can you
today.
keep quiet? Can I be protected? So the problem of Uganda is not necessarily the numbers of presidents, the many times you change leaders. The problem is on how we can transform our communities. Now we are in a multi-party dispensation. Now if members of NRM in Uganda still think that President Yoweri Museveni is the best captain who can take the country forward, so be it.
They can amend their
The
constitution,
amendment
not the national constitution.
No. The amendment of the constitution does not in any way stop Professor like Ogenga Latigo or David Prokor
From
to
being
offer himself for president.
That's not the issue.
And if
The
you
issue is the
think-
national constitution,
No.
not a
Of
party
course, the
constitution.
NRM members are Ugandans,
Okay,
they're
I
not
hear
from
you.
Congo.
I hear you.
They're not from Congo. And in Parliament, we are there different parties and we are Ugandans and we shall decide. And if you think that this so-called study is accurate, then the proof that is wrong will be in 2021 or 2023, as you are saying, over the 7 years. When we go back to the people,
It is
we
not
shall
us
prove
saying.
it. If you think that Parliament is
It
going
was
to take
the
a
media
decision,
that
It's not
reported.
us saying, it's a caucus.
if you think that the Parliament is going to take a decision which is against Ugandans, then there is time for elections. 2021, Ugandans will decide.
Okay.
So I don't see
You've
any
actually
fear.
touched on the 7-year term of the House.
So the safety valve
Is
that we
what-
have,
is that,
you are
have you
complaining.
discussed- Have you discussed
You
it?
let
see-
me come to that.
You see,
You are-
Chris.
Why
if-
do you like it?
No, I'm not.
Something?
I'm not even because I really want to help this debate. And he had said it before. You see, the way we are talking here, it is like one group owns Uganda, the other group don't, and this is the tragedy of our country. When we reach a stage where we realize that, look,
So who has said he owns Uganda?
wait. Let me.
It's like,
Let me say,
not that
like,
we-
I didn't say it. If we reach the stage where we say, look, if we move from here, there are possibilities of this risk and that risk. The most rational thing that would have been done, even before jumping to the constitutional amendment, was to sit down and talk. Talk to
When you
ourselves.
say we, you mean who?
As a country, as a country.
Ugandans,
So
and you
then-
the leaders.
But in the Parliament of Uganda,
But
we
you
don't
see,
know.
Patrick,
please,
you cut me
please,
short.
in the Parliament
And
of-
that's what I was
please,
trying to
please,
drive at.
please.
That we
Is
need
the
to
Parliament of
identify
Uganda
these
you
problems.
Please.
No, no,
Like,
You
Just
would
because
put
you're near
like
a
national conference.
you
What are you
would
saying? Are you
you
from police or you
you would put
Because you're talking of talking.
you would put your challenge on the table and said in our views
Yes, these people need to be sorted
the 5 years is coming. The country is not ready. The president is not ready. But we have a constitution that should help to hold us together. How do we proceed?
And that is the process.
If-
It is the parliament.
No,
Yes.
no, please.
That is the
No,
process.
no,
of the
no,
parliament.
no,
Let him
Chris,
conclude his
Chris.
point.
No, no, no.
If that initiative was made
I agree.
and we all said no, NRM must go, then we would not be loving our country. But if you insist,
Okay, gentlemen,
No,
hold
but
on to your
gentlemen,
point.
Where did you want
Doctor-
that question to be put?
Dr. Chris,
Are you saying we just
Dr.
put radio
Wanyomusi,
for Ugandans? We have
let him-
platforms
let him
like
respond.
parliament.
Let him
where such a-
respond to that question because we're going to take a break. And when we come. Gentlemen, we are back on air. I think you should know that. Okay, so where do we go from here?
7 years or 5 years.
You had stopped
still
at the
around.
7-year term issue. You had raised
Professor,
it.
okay,
Yes.
let you go. 7 year.
Let him tell us, will he
Would that-
resign?
would
If
that-
at all they passed it and the 5 years ended, would the professor resign
Is
from
it
his
the right
seat?
thing to do for Parliament to
you see,
extend
let
for
him-
its
let
own
him
benefit?
pronounce.
you see this this after in
Evening.
the afternoon when we went to Parliament, in our communication from the chair, the speaker informed us that she has set Monday 9 o'clock for our sitting to begin expressly to receive the report on the constitutional amendment, the reports on the constitutional amendment, and then to debate. And she said, in order for members to prepare for that Monday, I'm directing the clerk to Parliament to download the reports.
Upload
Upload, right.
Yeah, upload.
Well,
Yeah,
upload.
okay.
Upload the report
on
on their
the
iPads,
iPads. Yes.
so that they study them. And when we come on Monday, you know that we no longer will do it the way we did the last time, where the report was presented, then we went and signed for copies, and then the day was fixed for the debate. That means the debate will start immediately after the reports have
They
been
are presented,
read
yes.
and presented. Until I see the 7 years in the report,
Which has not yet been uploaded.
which has not been uploaded, you know who I am. I will not. I will not engage in hearsay. I have the draft bill. It had nothing to do with the terms and duration of the president or the members of parliament. I will stick by that. But when it comes, then we'll deal with it. But for today, we will actually be doing an exercise of futility to debate what we don't know is there or not. So
That's
let's-
the
let's-
advantage of age now. That is seniority. He has avoided my question.
Which one?
What would you do if your term was extended from 5 to 7? Would you accept that extra 2 years?
You wait until it is extended and ask me that question.
Okay, let me open the line so that Ugandans can maybe add to this debate or even ask questions if they have questions. I'm sure they do. So let me take the very first call online. Hello. Hello. Good evening, sir.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. You're on air. What's your name?
My name is Emma. I'm calling in from Tinda.
Emma in Ginger. You're on air, sir.
Ntinda.
Tinda. Okay.
Yes, I would like to comment a little about what Chris Padimos is saying and the colleague.
Okay.
They need to know that this issue of age limit is not about NRM and coalition. It is an issue about Ugandans. They have heard him saying that people should rise up. He should see what has taken place in South Sudan, what is taking place in Democratic Republic of Congo, and other countries. You cannot take the same path and expect to reach different destinations. He should bear that in mind. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you, a caller there from Muntinda. Let me take another call online. I wish if you can also be as clear and as precise and concise like the previous caller. We have a caller online. Hello. 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 Okay. Looks like this caller does not want to speak for now. You're still putting together your thoughts. I have a call online. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good evening to you. This is Silver from Stebi.
From Tigezi.
Stebi.
Kitezi. Okay. You're on air, sir.
I would just like to say to my NRM members that I think when we read the Bible of what happened to this king of Egypt,
The Pharaoh.
the way our hearts are crying, we are shedding tears, we vote you, suffering. It will happen to you also, like the way it happened to the king of Egypt and his army.
So you are saying their hearts are being hardened?
It will happen to those people also. Let us suffer.
Okay. I think you've made your point, and you're making an example comparing the current leaders to the pharaohs of Egypt. I'll find out what Honorable Sanjay and Chris could say about that. Let me take 2 more callers, and then that will be it. Hello. We have a call online. Hello. Okay, I'm dropping that, trying another call online. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm called Rogers. I'm calling from Makerere.
Rogers in Makerere, you're on air, sir.
Yeah, I think some of us, the issue is not in the age limit and the term, but however, our concern is the president. The president should make it public that he will not be interested in the whatever is happening. Now, this means that we have other blood from NRM, and most of Ugandans are not concerned about who is the next president, but they want to see a change. They want to see whoever comes from any party, and the NRM people should know that.
Okay.
That people really, they want to see a change, and that is the most important thing.
Thank you very much, Rogers in Makerere. And I think the president made it very public, and he spoke with a lot of clarity in 2012, and he just said, after 75, you do not have enough energy. It was very scientific, and he actually said, absolutely not and not at all for him to go beyond 2021. He could never have been more as clearer as that. He knows the nature of the job because he has done it, and he knows what comes with it, and he said he can't go beyond that. He was so public and so open and so clear. Just one more caller. My producer is telling me I have one more caller. Hello.
So this is Fred calling from Zambia.
I'm sorry, sir?
This is Fred calling from Zambia.
You are calling from Zambia?
Yeah.
You're on air.
I want to assure Chris that even if you're doing all this, family are watching you. One day, what happened to Gaddafi, people did not expect.
Okay.
Also, we go like that.
Unfortunately, the line is not very clear.
Ugandans are watching.
Yeah.
Okay, Ugandans are watching. Okay. All right, gentlemen. Probably Dr. Chris.
Thank you very much, the callers who are viewing the program. First of all, the rising up of Uganda. What did I mean? The point I was making, that if you think that members of parliament, if they change the constitution, then they will have taken a decision against Ugandans. Then wait, we are going to have LC elections. I want to challenge you, make this issue of age limit an LC election issue and see whether Ugandans will abandon NRM. We shall have elections in 2021. That's when the voters will evaluate the decision taken by parliament. Just look at what has happened in Igara East. We had a member of parliament who lost through the Court of Appeal, and he had said, I will not support the amendment of the constitution. But the results which are coming in, voters in Igara East, Bushenyi, are shunning him. This is the Honorable Marshal. So that means the voters in Igara East are unhappy with the member of parliament who said he won't support the position of amending the constitution. So,
Was it the
when we
president
speak,
campaigning for him the other day?
no, he actually said the members of parliament are saying they are touching, what's wrong with your hands? And that message went to the public. And people are shunning him, and I think most likely because of his stand on
Who
this.
did they elect?
So, the rising up I was referring
Mawanda.
to, that we shall have elections.
Mawanda, the independent.
We shall have elections,
The former
LC1, election 2021. If you think that the decision is going to be taken by NRM is against Uganda, then we shall see the rising up through the way people will vote. I didn't want to say that they rise up and fight and cause violence, but through the elections, we shall see how the evaluation will be done. Somebody, Roger is saying from Makerere, most people want to change. Since the coming into force of the current constitution, no leader has imposed himself on Ugandans, including President Yoweri Museveni. Article 1 of the constitution says, power belongs to the people, and the people are led in accordance with their interests and wishes. We are having regular elections every 5 years. The amendment of the constitution will not stop anybody from offering himself if he's qualified, and the final decision is taken by Ugandans. So is it a question of just changing from one leader to the other? Who makes that decision? It is Ugandans. We shall vote. President Museveni doesn't impose himself on us.
And
He
briefly,
campaigns.
what you're parting short, briefly, your concluding remark, because you're in.
My parting shot is that the amendment is legitimate, the amendment is lawful. We have done consultations, we have done assessment. Majority of Ugandans support the amendment, and I can assure you, as the day follows the night, the amendment will pass in Parliament, and life will remain very normal.
Thank you very
and
much.
We shall go on.
David, your concluding remarks on the show tonight.
Citizens, just watch with keen interest and take your own decisions. Today, strange things are happening. Members of Parliament and their president or our president are mooting the idea of seven-year term. It is only happening in Burundi as we speak now. They are also debating, Nkurunziza is also pushing for 7. And then the others, Equatorial Guinea, which adopted it in 2011. And of course, the other is Gabon. And you know who is in Gabon, from father to son, after the father has been there for 40 years. And then Cameroon,
And Rwanda.
whose president lives in France and comes just like any other visitor. And then you have Rwanda. Today, Kagame is serving the last 7-year term. After that, they will resort back to 5-year term. And then in Senegal, as we speak today, they are debating how to reduce from 7 years to 5 years.
And in Tanzania?
So Tanzania, of course, Tanzania, they have term limits, you know this. Okay, and so is Kenya, which is a young democracy like us. They have term limits, but when you come here, we have no term limits.
No, discussing the same.
And we have no, even the only age limit was there. But I'm just giving these facts.
In Tanzania, they're also debating whether to move to 7 years.
I'm giving these facts so that people know that those who have been in 7 years are beginning to move back to 5 years.
No.
And those, I'm telling you, Senegal. And I'm just
one
telling you about Rwanda.
But of those you have
I'm just telling you about Rwanda.
Rwanda, when
Okay,
they start
could
moving
you
to
conclude
5
your
years.
So
Rwanda, they are still 7
so
years.
the point I'm
They are
making
not
here is
debating
that
going to 5 years.
today, our members of parliament are being told the treasury cannot afford the money you're asking for. We can give you part of it. The rest you pick in the additional 2 years.
That's
Now,
not
if
true.
you calculate how much an MP earns in Uganda
Stop lying
and
in the
look
public.
at and extrapolate how much will they have earned in those additional years? It's about 400 and something million.
All
Uganda
right,
shillings.
thank you very much, David.
Stop
Honorable
telling lies to the
Sanjay,
public.
Honorable
That's a lie.
Sanjay Tana,
That's not
your
true.
parting shot.
I think
That's my parting comment.
I think it's very important.
Oh, gentlemen, let's one at a time.
I think it's very important, like David has said, that we watch the space, as the youth would say. 70% almost of our population is a youthful population. Most of those people that today make the majority of the population pyramid in this country have not seen the turbulent past that many of us have lived in. And my prayer is that the leaders, the people that are able to communicate, educate these masses that some of these reckless statements that we make can lead us to anarchy. We are seeing it in South Sudan, we are seeing it in Burundi, we are seeing it in Congo, and therefore the onus lies upon us as leaders to maintain this peace. How we do it, how we guard it jealously is extremely important. The bottom line is that if at all this amendment gives us the peace and continuity, if at all the consultations the senior professor here has said with the members of opposition, and we see how we can provide for a transition
as a national dialogue,
and a national dialogue, so that these reconciliations are made, I would like to encourage that. But personally, I would like to encourage that in whatever decisions made, there is peace and there is tranquility in this country.
Thank you very much, Professor Maurice Ogenga-Latigo.
I will start with what Sanjay said. You see, peace is a condition. Nobody creates it. Actually, you defined it as the absence of conflict. So don't deal with peace. Deal with the conflict in our country. If you have the kind of political conflict that is manifesting itself and you expect peace, you're just a joker. The fundamental issue is this. You have a constitution? Yes. You agreed to abide by it? Yes. And when it was being made, President Museveni was president. And they quote him where he said, this is a very wonderful document. If anybody interferes with it, I'm going to go to the bush. It's a fundamental thing. The challenge we Ugandans, you see, whether you do it,
with it unlawfully.
Look,
You can correct it. You can say anything, Chief.
look, even your wife whom you have married, there's even marital rape. And yet that is your wife. And this is marital rape.
In Iwachiga, we don't have marital rape.
Oh yeah, that is why you are supporting it, but for us we have. So
How can you say that, Doctor?
So if you think you have a right over your wife, the day she walks away and leaves you with your kid, is when you know the value of your wife, but it will be too late. I'm just cautioning my colleagues in NRM. Every government in Africa that gets power fails to understand what power is and gets subsumed by power. The successful ones are the ones who walk away from power, not those who entrench themselves. And I said this before. I would advise Chris and his colleagues to go and read my article, Political Succession, Why Can't We Learn from Trees?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Professor.
Who tells you your article?
Ogenga-Latigo, Honorable Sanjay Tana, David Prukol, and Dr.
You
Chris
want us to walk away from
Mariomusi,
power.
and
We
all
shall
of you.
not.
So Monday is coming, members of
We
Parliament
shall
are
not
going to
walk away
debate,
from power.
and perhaps they'll
We want
pass
to keep in
the
power.